So this is kind of my dilemma. I want to focus on my work so I can do a good job, and so people watching will enjoy my streams, seeing me do a good job on the leather. But if I pay attention to my leather, I stop talking as much, and that makes it worse for the stream. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. Just seems either way my stream's gonna be bad. Who knows? Maybe I'll eventually figure out how to balance being entertaining and being good at leatherworking. I suppose once I get it down, and just become second nature to me, and I can focus more on talking than on doing the work. Whenever I'm gluing, you can really tell how wavy my line was, because some parts will pull up with form a pool of glue, and some parts will barely get glue at all for the high and low spots. But that's okay. I can just come back and smooth it out. And it's like it never even happened. How many do I got made? 4? So let's make 5, and I'll make another row of 5, and then I'll start pounding them together. You may notice I'm going off without my ruler. These are the, let's use a gaming analogy. These are my speedrun strats. I know Twitch is a predominantly gaming-oriented platform, so I'll use all my gaming terms I know. I'm doing a speedrunning strat on a leatherworking wallet percent run. I may have just said nonsense there, but I think those were all gaming terms. I'm going for my PB and gluing percent run. I'm sure if any gamers are actually watching me, they're losing their minds right now with how much I'm butchering their culture. I'm appropriating the gaming culture. The biggest sin you can commit. Speaking of gaming culture, a few streams back I was listing off the Atari games that I like, the Atari 2600 games. And one thing I'm now remembering that I forgot to mention is Centipede. That's a really good game. I'm not very good at it compared to something like Space Invaders or Dodge 'em. I'm really good at those games, but sorry, I accidentally dipped that way too far. But Centipede is also really fun. I'm good on the arcade machine version of it, the one with the ball that you roll around. But I'm not too good with the joystick on the Atari. Maybe if I got the paddle, that would work a lot better. The where you twist it, that thing. I could maybe use the paddle on it, and I'll be a lot better at it like that. But with just the joystick, I'm not too good. Though it is still fun trying to beat it. Because that's the thing with Atari games. Once you get really good at them, it kind of loses its replayability. But as long as you're still an amateur, you can still replay it. But speaking of arcade machines that make good Atari games, the Donkey Kong Atari game is really good. I don't think it's an official Atari game. I'm pretty sure. I guess it'd be made by Nintendo, I guess. Doesn't Nintendo own Donkey Kong? Donkey Kong? Maybe since it's so old, it was owned by a different company. But and Television, maybe? Those were an older. Oh well. Anyways, they had. I know for sure it wasn't made by Atari. It was made by some third party. May have been Nintendo, who knows. But, anyways, the Atari version of Donkey Kong is really fun. There's only 2 different levels, and once you get past those, it does ramp up in skill level a little bit, but it does plateau after a certain point, like most Atari games do. They'll get harder and harder, but after a point, they just repeat itself. Because it's not like you can program endless levels into those old video games. Even back then, even arcade machines, you couldn't program endless levels in. You'd get stuff like the infamous Pac-Man kill screen, where the memory runs out and you just get jumbled garbage on the screen. Because I think the developers wanted Pac-Man to be an endless game, but they were just like, people won't make it to level 256 or whatever level it is. There's no way people will make it that far, but they did make it that far, and the game crashes. So that's why you have perfect scores in Pac-Man. So if the arcade machines can't even do it back then, there's no way in hell Atari is going to be able to do it. And arcade machines were like this big, beefy supercomputer compared to the Atari. Though you think they maybe build in a rollover counter or something? Though I suppose that would take more space, and maybe they just didn't have it. Maybe like a mechanism that counts how. Oh, I'm just. I was saying a mechanism that counts how many times the score is rolled over, but that's just an extra digit on the score. I was thinking of a larger number. I wasn't thinking of a new mechanic. That's funny. Yeah, I wasn't too smart with that. Yeah, it's the gamer way of doing math. Instead of rounding up, they add a new scoreboard. But still, you can just count in your mind however many times you rolled it over. Or if you're doing like a world record attempt, you can videotape yourself and count back later. Because with those Atari games, it's more a test of perseverance more than anything for those world record attempts, because they definitely get long, like 3 days long. But it's like once you get to a certain skill level, you can play pretty much forever, but you do have to eat and sleep. And whoever wants the world record is the person who goes the longest without eating and sleeping. I guess you could eat. Maybe like somebody brings you some, like a sandwich or something, and you just play one-handed for a little while. But in general, you can't do much else while you're going for a world record attempt. There was I watched this when I was a kid, so I'm not going to remember a whole bunch about it. But I think there was this documentary on Netflix about this. It was like a random arcade machine that nobody knew about. I don't even remember. I think it was sort of like a Snake type game. But basically, this guy's dedicated his entire life to beating a certain milestone, and he basically destroyed his hand doing this game, which I suppose is what I'm doing right now, destroying my hand for a hobby. But so I can't judge him on that. I'm doing it myself as I speak. But he's put in like millions of hours playing this arcade machine. And when he goes for like a world record attempt, it's like a 3-day run of him just moving around the screen. If I remember correctly, though, you can build up lives in it. And if you build up enough lives, he can like take a break from the machine and it'll just run itself for a little while. So like he could build up a bunch of lives and take like a 10-minute nap or like a 5-minute nap and then get right back up and do it for another 48 hours to build back up his lives. It's crazy the amount of commitment he has just for this really obscure arcade machine. Netflix has quite a few good documentaries. I remember watching one. It was on the transcontinental race, and what that is, it's basically a bike race that goes all the way across America, transcontinental, so goes over the continent. Anyways, it's a super long bike race, one of the longest in the world, and it follows a group of people trying to win this race. And I think the record's like 8 days, something like that, which is insane. Like, I don't even know if I could get across the United States in 8 days in a car, let alone on my bike. But back when I was insane and riding my bike 40, 50 miles a day, I wanted to do that. That's what I was training for. I would go out, ride my bike, and those guys, they ride their bike like 200 miles a day or something ridiculous. But I'd go out, ride my bike 100 miles, and I'd be like, okay, so if I was in my transcontinental race, I'd be at this marker, and I'd be here and here, and then I'll need to get up tomorrow and do it again, and that's really how I ruined my knee. But I didn't Skype this down thin enough. Oh well. Anyways,